Savage, or pretty tough, weren't they, the Gold Coast?
They were good. No, I thought early on Gold Coast were really quick, and Adelaide was outstanding. But once, in contrast, Tom, to last week where I was standing, like we were on for it, we're in for the fight. So I was still confident that if we could just hang in there, and we did, that we'd better sort of at least score and stay in the game, which is the way it panned out. Whereas, you know, last week I saw the same speed from the opposition, but I didn't see any intensity from us. So in the end, coming off last week and with that sort of start, I thought our guys were really good.
I know I asked you about him yesterday, but and Nathan D'Arbello, you must have been delighted from the captain's point of view that he had the game.
Yeah, well, I mean, our supporters would have seen that. And so it couldn't have panned out any better for Nathan in particular, and the work that the senior leadership group have done throughout the week. And, you know, Mick Dowdy, Ben Rutten, Scott Thompson, Scotty Stevens has been around, as well as Nathan. They've had a huge impact from last week, you know, 6 days ago to the performance today. So I'm really thankful for the work that they did.
A very important win, but what did the Adelaide Footy Club prove today?
I don't think it's proven too much. I mean, that we don't know about. For that group of players, Andrew, it was important to respond from last week. You know, so that's a big change in behaviour from what we all saw last week. You'd have to, you know, chalk and cheese those games, weren't they? I mean, it was a good game of footy today. Now, all that means is that group needs, as I think I spoke last week about, trying to salvage something from the wreck. And what you get from that is you take it. You know, we served it up. We copped the criticism. Players, you know, they received most of the criticism and the heat, and then their capacity to regroup in a short period of time, to prepare and to play against a really talented squad, and being 4 goals down in the early part of the first quarter, it's a great experience for them to go through, and that's part of our group growing. And that's why it's important to experience failure.
And other positives and young players, I guess, today, just talks about Matty Wright. Obviously, his pressure inside 50 is a key role in modern footy more than ever. How do you see his performance and his role on the side now?
Well, I thought it was interesting you mentioned the pressure of forward, you know, forward 50, not just forward 50, but also I thought forward of centre in particular. I thought it was very good today. Particularly that second quarter was sensational. Matty's he's an interesting player. Matty, he's the rookies do it tough in AFL. You know, they get a sniff of a list, but sort of they can sometimes perform really well in the SANFL, Andrew, and never get a chance. Now with some injuries in our footy club, you know, there has been some opportunities, and he's grabbed it both hands. And I've been really pleased with what he's been able to do. And we've used him mostly as a small forward. And I'm really keen to see him play actually up in the midfield in AFL when he gets the opportunity, and he will. But as a small forward, I think he's might have been the second quarter. I think he had 13 or 14 possessions. Yeah, it was fantastic.
And his contested footy, I think he led the team in contested ball today. Is that so significant?
It is. It is. I mean, we talk about it all the time, and we spoke about how last week we were so poor at it, and I guess the good thing for our supporters today would see that contrast and the value of having those sort of players in our team.
Neil, you touched on injuries. You must be pretty happy as well and relieved that finally no injuries for you.
Yeah, I think it might have been the first time, nearly the first time this year, Tom, that's happened. So, yeah, and we just need to start to get some people back, and hopefully we will. What have we got? I mean, we know about Davis and Paul Pleasure, but David McKay's making good progress. Ian Callan he's a rookie again, but he'll play in a couple of weeks. And some other guys, you know, Bernie. I was disappointed Bernie doing a hamstring because Bernie would have played today for us. So that's going to be at least 2 weeks, I'd say, maybe more. Anyway, we'll go for what we've got. Johnny.
Do you think that the team learnt something last week that's good for the whole season, or do you think they're capable of slipping back to a lack of intensity at any time?
Any club is, John. Any club is. Just, pick up the papers tomorrow and you look at the sides that lose. And I'll guarantee you'll find comments in there from coaches or an assessment of the game that our intensity wasn't good enough. Now, what we saw last week, of course, was the
Watershed. A watershed.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, 16 goals is a big score. That's a big loss in AFL. But I'll be interested. For example, I can't predict it, but I'll be interested to see what Melbourne says tomorrow about surrendering a reasonable lead. I think. Be just interesting to have a look at it. So, and that's not. I'm not trying to deflect it away from us, but you're not dealing with robots. And in the case of our group, and I've mentioned hard-nosed AFL players before, and it's a tough competition, week after week after week, to play at that sort of level when you're a young player. I mean, Van Berlo can do it, Thompson can do it, Rutten can do it, Johncock can do it, because they become hardened professionals. We haven't got enough of those at the moment. But that's why, to go back to your question, that's why it is important to go through that, because that hardens everyone. That experience hardens everyone, and in particular, it hardens players. And you don't become a hardened AFL player by winning by 20 goals every week, I'll guarantee you.
Neil, after a tough week having a tough week this week after last week's loss, what pleased you most about your response today?
Just the fact that they responded. I thought they were fantastic. Okay? 4 goals down early in the quarter, a lesser group would have said, oh, here we go. Coming off a 16-goal loss, great speed by Gold Coast. Ablett's taken charge of the game. And I thought Richard Douglas, about to go on to Ablett in the second quarter, was a significant play for us. So just the fact that they hung in there.
Was there a KPI in particular that you were looking at?
No, not in particular.
Neil, were your tackles and clearances have been an issue this
Yeah.
year? As you said tonight?
Our clearances are poor. We got belted in clearances. So to win by nearly 10 goals, actually, with the clearance differential that we've got today, is that's one for the record books as well. So we need to do a lot of work on that and have a real good look at it, how we're going about our business, and tighten up on it, because there's something going on that we need to fix.
What are your initial thoughts on that? Because you won contested possession, you won hit-outs convincingly, and lose clearances by 25. What's your initial thoughts?
Don't know, Andrew. I don't sit there and look at it closely from the position I coach from. So I need to have a good look at the video, and I will, in conjunction with Scott and Matty Clark, Scott Camperali and Matty Clark. The contested possession, but that's not all around clearances. No. Okay, that's a lot of that's our second quarter and the forward line. That's contested possession. That's not a clearance. The ball's slipping around, and there's tackles and it spills out. But no doubt, you get a great opportunity to create good, positive, contested ball at stoppages. But this is about the clearance. It's getting out of there, and we don't win it. So we need to have a good look at it.
Yeah. Just a question. You talk about the young list that you've got in Adelaide. Coming up against Gold Coast now at the start of the season, relatively, is it a win that you say you should have won and it can kickstart your season, or is it more just about the winner's good experience and you're expecting, a tougher contest this next week? Well,
it's with all due respect, the competition we play in. The longer I stay in the AFL, the more people don't understand how difficult it is to win a game of AFL football. And so your line of is one you should have won. It's really interesting, because people would say we should have beaten Melbourne. Yeah. And I think against Port, they said we should have beaten Port going into that game. Should have done win. So having put that to bed, next week's game will be really difficult for us. This week's game was difficult for us. No AFL game, because it's a competition filled with 640 or more now, highly competitive people that take the field. And you've only got to be off your guard as a group, and you get what we got last week. So that's something that we hopefully learn But I'll tell you one thing, it'll probably happen again in the history of the Adelaide Footy Club.